The race is tightening, and Kamala is bringing out the big guns. The stakes starts now. Good evening, everybody. I'm Tara Setmayer. This is the Michelle Kinney, and we are the co-founders of the SENECA Project, and this is The Stakes. I'm like delirious because we're only 3 weeks, almost 3.5 weeks away from this election, and there's a lot going on. There's hurricanes, there's, like Donald Trump's losing his shit on TV. We've got Kamala Harris doing the media blitz. Well, there's just it's like so much. And Barack Obama is out on the trail. Like I said,
right. I did see that.
The big guns are being pulled out now.
As they should be.
Yeah, I mean, it's all hands on deck, people. It is. And even though things are looking good in some places, the race is tightening. It is, which is horrifying and scary to think about, but it's the reality.
It's terrifying. It is absolutely terrifying.
Yes.
And I tell my friends this all the time because obviously the majority of my friends are Democrats. I think I've talked about this on the show before. They are always coming to me and saying, "Hey, Michelle, everything's going to be fine, right? She's going to win, right?" And I'm like,
are you not paying attention?
I'm like, y'all asked me that in 2016. So I'm not answering that question anymore.
Right.
So.
And I know that folks are like, oh, don't believe the polls and blah, blah, blah. Listen, we always have to run as if we're behind because unless there is a 48-state Reagan-style blowout, this thing is going to be a nail biter. It is. And I pray to God that I'm wrong. I swear. I hope I'm wrong.
I hope.
And we can go to bed early on election night and wake up on the 6th.
Can you imagine such a thing?
If only. But I suspect that's not going to be the case. And even if it's remotely close, Donald Trump is not going to concede this election. You understand, people? He's not going to concede the election.
Not even.
So we need to be prepared, and we need to make sure that those wins are as decisive as possible. So, we can't take any polls for granted. They show trends, and now, we
They're
need to
just snapshot in time. That's it. They're not predictive.
No,
they're reflective of a moment, and that's it.
That's right. And then when you start putting them together, and you can start seeing some trends, then okay. But we've got to do the work, people. We have to. And we are. And we know that folks who watch the show are, and we're grateful for that. And we want to make sure that we keep encouraging, like Michelle's friends, that you can't sit back and just sip mimosas until election day and go, we got this thing. No, we don't. Why are we saying this? Why are we saying this? Well, there's a lot going on. And I think this week, because of Hurricane Milton, which thank God was not as bad as they thought initially. My aunt was in the pathway of direct hit. She lives down there in Manatee County, Florida. She's okay. Thank God. Her place is okay. Her and her dogs made it. They're all right. But there was still a lot of flooding and people still lost things. But it could have been way worse. And we're just grateful that it wasn't. So there's that. But this whole week, though, the lead up to it, I think overshadowed a lot of things going on politically. And some of those things include the fact that Donald Trump sounded like an absolute crazy person yesterday. And I admittedly didn't see a bunch of it until later. And Michelle, you kind of pointed it out because I was playing amateur weather person yesterday. Again, because my aunt lives in Florida and my parents used to live down there for 20 years. And so you start to become kind of, everybody becomes Jim Cantori and starts following barometric pressure numbers and shit. And that was me because I was worried about my family. But
of course.
So I missed this. And you pointed it out that Donald Trump went on these rants at 2 campaign rallies yesterday. I knew he was in in Pennsylvania, in Reading and Scranton. And I heard bits and pieces. But when you pointed out some of the wacky stuff that he was saying, I was like, oh my gosh, this guy. And he was particularly amped up because Kamala Harris went on a media blitz this week. if you haven't heard. She went on The View. She did 60 Minutes. She went on Howard Stern. She was on the Call Me Daddy podcast. She's doing a town hall with Univision tonight. Everybody's been bitching and complaining. Where is she? She's not doing enough. She's not out there enough. She did Stephen Colbert. She's out there, but it's still never good enough. Never good enough. Not enough.
No.
Right? Not enough. So she went on The View, and of course she knocked it out of the park, right? It's a friendly audience, just honest about that. But still, Donald Trump was particularly incensed, I think, about The View and Howard Stern, because those are shows that used to embrace him.
That's right.
Right? And we were talking about this today, Michelle, and you had a theory about it too.
Yeah, I mean, these are the places that were friendly to him. These are the places also, I mean, if you go back and find like the most disgusting clips of Donald Trump talking about his daughter, it's on The View and it's on Howard Stern.
Yep.
And even though Joy like hit him on the leg when that happened.
Right. Oh,
and said, that's so gross. That's so gross and so weird, I think.
But it was still playful. Still playful then.
Still playful. I mean, because Ivanka is just like laughing.
Right.
Ivanka, again, not the victim, but laughing right through all of it. And
I believe the comment was about what did they have in common or something, or
yeah,
or was
it's just like, what do you have in common between you and your dad? And she's like, golf. And he says sex.
Right. Who says that? Who says that about their own daughter? It's just so gross.
So weird.
It's
so
gross. Weird. And on Howard Stern, back when Howard Stern was still the shock jock, he's not. He's evolved over the years, and I actually really enjoy Howard Stern.
Yeah, he's really had a turnaround.
And he's one of the best in the business. He's an incredible interviewer, and he was recently on the Smartless podcast. I love those guys; one of my favorite podcasts. And if I encourage everybody to listen to it, because he's it's just really good. He's interesting. But anyway, back then he was still a shock jock, and he made the comment about Ivanka being a piece of ass, and Trump was like, "Yeah." He was like, he was okay with Howard Stern calling his own daughter a piece of ass and talking about like how well endowed she is in her breastises.
So, oh my God.
Who talks about this? He's a creep. He's disgusting. And yet he wants to be our protector, ladies. He's our protector. The ladies love him. Ugh. So yesterday, do we have the clip, Michelle, of him?
Well, yes. What I went ahead and did, because I am a masochist over here, I actually strung together all the crazy stuff.
Good.
He's been saying between his 2 rallies in Pennsylvania. He was in Detroit today.
Oh, yes.
Now he was speaking to the
Detroit Economic Club. Yes. Now that's important, folks, because where he was speaking and what he said is just astonishing. I don't know how this is the tactic of someone who's trying to win votes in a really important state.
I don't think he knows where he is. I don't think he knows where his nose is. Like, I don't think, because he starts talking about, if she wins, it's going to be a real problem. And he goes, the whole country is going to be like Detroit. You're going to have a real mess on your hands.
He was in Detroit, people.
If there's one thing I know about people from Detroit, you do not diss Detroit, okay? That would be like him coming to New York and being like, what a shithole. Like, we'd all be like, get out of here.
Right. Well, they kind of already did say get the hell out of here.
Well, yeah,
right. That's why he doesn't live there anymore. But yes. Or going to Boston. You go to Boston and you talk shit about
my God, can you imagine?
The Celtics or the Bruins or something.
Yeah, it'd be like him going to Fenway and being like, go Yankees. Like, that would just be like, it's just... He has no concept of where he is, what to say. I don't think he cares. I don't think he gives a shit.
He looks terrible, by the way. I keep saying this. I mean, we make fun of him looking disheveled anyway, but he looks particularly haggardly lately. And I am obsessed with the fact that his bronzer is so awful. It's this terrible, terrible color. Like he just shellacks it, and it doesn't. It's darker
like varying degrees of warmth and orange. Like, have you noticed this? It's like
shit. It's a shit brown color. Yeah, he does. According to Michael Cohen, he does it himself, and it shows.
and just
I just
right here doesn't go into the ear or the past here. So it's like a straight line. And then his ear is like white. Everything else is orange. He's a very orange man.
He's a mess. Let's show the compilation so folks can understand,
right.
because I know I'm not the only one who missed it, and people need to see this because the race is tightening. And despite the fact that he's saying stuff like this, because the media doesn't cover it, because they're too worried about the fact that Kamala Harris said she wouldn't change anything about the Biden administration. It's ridiculous. False equivalency. Let's show folks.
Well, I will say it's a couple minutes. I think it's worth it.
Yeah.
This is just from the last 3 to 4 days. So just
this week, people. This week.
Just this week.
And it wouldn't resonate at all with the other side. You have to have the right messenger. Somebody said, oh, we love Trump policy, but we don't like Trump. I think they do. They said that women don't like me. I think women love me because they want to be safe. And with me, they're safe. With other people, they're not safe. And, somebody said, you should be nicer. Women won't like it. I said, I don't care. The whole country is going to be like, you want to know the truth? It'll be like Detroit. Our whole country will end up being like Detroit if she's your president. You're going to have a mess on your hands. I think the other one asking the question is dumber than Kamala. So she's a dummy. I watched her over the years. That is one dumb woman. Sorry. I'm sorry, women. She's a dummy. Your child goes to school and they take your child. It was a he and comes back a she. Now, I've hired Whoopi to work for me as a comedian before this stuff, and a long time ago. And I went, and, I'm not particularly shy about what I hear. Her mouth was so foul. Every word out of her mouth was like the F word, that this. I was with a group of people, like sort of nice people, and we had to leave. She was so filthy dirty, disgusting. Half the place left. I said I'd never hire her again, but she was so dirty. Every word was filthy dirty, and I left. And then I see her sitting about, oh, Whoopi, oh, what a loser she is. Howard Stern, he's a weak guy. He's weak. He's going, oh, what about, oh. It was so ridiculous. Even she was embarrassed. It was like softball. But all of them, Howard, I knew him very well. I was on the show many times. I used to think he was good. Then I dropped him. And I dropped him like a dog. So I came up with the name Pocahontas. And it drove her crazy. And so she went out and got a blood test. That means essentially that I have more Indian blood in me than she has. And I have none, unfortunately. I'd like to have some. She doesn't do any interviews. She doesn't do any press conferences. She doesn't do them for one reason. She's not smart. She's not smart. I didn't have to be here. I could be in a beautiful beach. I could be in a gorgeous beach somewhere in the world. There's sun beaming down on this beautiful body in a bathing suit. The sun would be beaming down. The waves would be crashing into my face. Instead, I'm here with you in Pennsylvania, and I'd rather be doing that. And because she's speaking, people are realizing she's a dumb person. And we can't have another dumb president. We've had enough. You know what? Politics can do strange things to demented people. I have a great memory. I can talk about hundreds of things at one time and always get back to that point that you were trying to make. You see, that's the real threat to democracy, stupid people.
I mean, I would like to start with a personal point of privilege to defend my good friend Whoopi Goldberg.
Oh, yeah.
Not as if she needs me to defend her, because she is quite capable and did so today on The View. And I would just like to read what she said in case folks didn't see it, in reference to her being filthy and that Donald Trump never hired her again. She said, "I've always been filthy, and you knew that when you hired me, Donald," she retorted. "I headlined, babe, at your casino, which I might have continued to play had you not run it into the ground. How dumb are you? You hired me 4 times. Whoopi Goldberg is one of the greatest to ever do it in the business. She is an EGOT. She has won an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony. There are only a handful of people in the history of show business who have ever been EGOTs. Whoopi Goldberg is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing about this is, what do you think he was going to say when he said Kamala was one dumb? Fill in the blanks, folks. I can see your comments tonight. What word do you think he was going to put in there? Michelle and I had different ideas of what I thought he was going to say, and she thought he was going to say something else. I'd be curious, what do you think he was going to say? And do you think he'll actually slip up and say it? Because it looks like he wants to. I hope he does. Please say it, Donald. Please say how you really feel. You want to talk about filthy? This is not a well man. The guy is unhinged, absolutely unhinged. This is what Donald Trump has been doing for the last 3 days. That was just the last 3 freaking days.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Kamala Harris, once again, as a woman, she's doing the Ginger Rogers. She's got to do it just as good backwards and in heels.
Yep.
She's on substantive programs from 60 Minutes to pop culture programs like that podcast that gets 5 million downloads a week, by the way. She's on The View, which is widely watched. She's on Howard Stern, on Colbert. She's doing rallies. And this is what this guy is doing. I would like to show, we have the little girl video, right? This is what Kamala Harris was doing this week, as opposed to what Donald Trump was doing. This is what Kamala Harris was doing. This is the contrast, folks. This is the contrast.
I love you so much, Papa. We fight, we win.
Look at you. How are you? That's our first time meeting, but it's a wonderful. She's been talking about you. Come here, let me see you. Tell me, what's going on with you?
I love you so much, Papa. We fight, we win.
You're kidding me. You are kidding me. Come here. Come here. I'm voting for her. I'm so proud of you. You make me feel so inspired. My goodness.
Thank you.
My goodness. I love meeting our young leaders. And you are so smart. That makes me so happy. Thank you. Say thank you. Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you.
Right this way.
Bye-bye, Papa.
See you next time, okay? You have to stay in touch.
I mean, how does that not give you all the feels?
I don't know how this race is close.
I know.
I will never understand.
I know. I worry for our country, frankly. I just had this whole conversation this morning. I was doing a pre-tape for a British radio television station. They're getting ready to do their like post-election shows, so they're putting stuff together and pre-taping it. And we had to discuss both scenarios: if he wins, if she wins. And I was saying how I don't know what this country looks like if he wins after. I really don't. I cannot believe that our country is this awful.
I can't either.
I can't. And I really don't believe that it's just about, well, I don't know enough about our freaking economic policy. So I'm gonna vote for that guy, not for this woman who is confident, leader, normal, compassionate, can put a sentence together, isn't a lunatic, doesn't fantasize about being a dictator, doesn't make, deals with our enemies. And I mean, the list goes on and on. I don't know. Go ahead, Michelle. Sorry.
Well, no, I was going to say, I don't know if you've seen those little excerpt interviews, I think in the New York Times, where they've been interviewing undecided voters, and they ask, and they describe each person that they're asking these questions to. And, they'll go, what's your main concern about Trump? And it's like, oh, he's a felon. Oh, he's crazy. Stuff that we would all be thinking. And then it's concern about Kamala Harris. Well, I don't really know who she is, or I don't really know what her policies are, or, I don't know. She seems nice, but is she qualified enough to be president? This is what I just don't know. I just don't know.
But Donald Trump was qualified enough to be president as a failed businessman, reality show host, philanderer with 3 wives and 5 kids by 3 different women. Yeah, he's qualified though. I don't know.
All you have to do is apparently be a white man and just step up to the plate and everyone goes, ooh, ah.
I never used to really believe that. I tried really
It's
hard
true though.
not to believe that, but since we've been doing this work and then since my time in the Never Trump space, I gotta tell you, yeah, it's a whole different perspective. It
The
really
crazy
is.
thing about all of that is how it is.
I know
And
it is.
they always wake up on a base ahead, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And
They're born on a base ahead.
yeah. And yet the resentment that they have for the rest of us, you know, getting ahead in any way, or having to share some part of this universe with them.
God
And
forbid.
it's not all of them, obviously.
No.
It's a, you know, smaller percentage of it. But, you know, we see this growing problem with young white men of resentment and misogyny and just beyond misogyny. It's like anti-woman, anti-science, this like beta male stuff, testicle tanning. Like it's weird.
I forgot about that.
It's weird.
It is weird.
It's
Testicle tanning.
weird. But it's also really scary. I mean,
because it's real. We're not making this shit up.
And this is something Tara and I were talking about on the phone the other day, is that, you know, I have spent days, weeks, years waiting in the swamp that is right-wing media. Now, Kamala Harris is out, you know, doing podcasts and things. Tim Walz was on World of Warcraft Twitch stream last night, which I think is like hilarious.
Yes.
But again, that's where the young
it's like
men
dad busted into the pizza party with the son, the teenage son's like, I'm coming. What are you doing,
right,
guys?
right.
How do you play this thing?
Exactly. But like, again, that's where
That's
if you
cool,
want to meet young men and you know, get your message to them, that's where to go.
Unfortunately, yes.
But the thing to understand here now, the Call Me Daddy podcast, I think, has what, 5 million subscribers.
No, downloads per week.
Oh my God, sorry.
Yeah,
5 million downloads per week. My bad.
It's mind-blowing.
It's mind-blowing. And like, I forget exactly what the metric is, but let's just say way more than the New York Times subscriber list.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And I feel like the Democrats are kind of new to this strategy because the right-wing people have been doing this for a long time.
Correct.
And we do not have the infrastructure on the left outside the legacy media. And I think it's like, I don't know if they just never thought this would happen. And so they just were sticking with the legacy media that had maybe the most credibility or whatever.
Right.
But the amount of podcasts and streaming shows and things on Discord and WhatsApp things and like Rumble,
Instagram Live and YouTube
Lives
Live,
and right side broadcast news. Like there is so much stuff that is beyond, I mean, beyond Fox News. Okay. Let's say Fox News, Newsmax. Let's say even, what was that other crazy thing? The QAnon. I forget what the other thing that they had.
It's gone. It's gone now.
It's gone. Yeah. But like, whatever. But like beyond that, like we've shown that Christian nationalism montage on the show before. It's those places. And there are millions of people who listen to this.
Like Joe Rogan has like 100 million listeners or downloads or some shit. Like Jordan Peterson, like all of these guys. This is a whole other world, folks. This is like a world that even for me, and we monitor this stuff pretty regularly. OAN, yes, thank you.
OAN, yes. That
would have bugged
me.
But we are only like at the tip of the iceberg of the depths of the depravity of this.
Yes.
Thanks to Denver Riggleman, who is on our advisory board and who studies a lot of this because of the type of work that he actually does. I mean, he lets us know a lot also about just how scary it is because his company does a lot of intelligence data gathering and stuff, and they unfortunately have to wade into those swamps. And he's just like, you have no idea. Like he was telling me about like the shooter, the attempted assassin, the assassination shooter from Butler, Pennsylvania, Crooks. How they were looking at some of his social footprint and the type of message boards and the 4chan, 8chan, whatever, all that stuff, and the weirdo things that were being discussed there. It's just awful.
It would send chills up your spine, and it would. Listen, I invite people to go check the charts of podcasts, like the top charts, right? Like you look at Billboard, top 10 songs in America, the top 10 political podcasts in the United States, and Google each of these shows.
Yep.
Because I'm going to tell you, it's not what you think it is. It's scary stuff with people who have very extreme views. And we watch how young men, especially, get radicalized through religion and ideology, usually also related to misogyny and women hating in other countries and other parts of the world. It's happening here every single day, and it's been happening for years. So if you think in your mind, okay, all these old white guys, okay, this generation of they're going to die off, and no, there is a whole nother generation that is 10 times worse coming up in the ranks.
Yep. It's Alex Jones on steroids.
They are prepared. They're smart. Some of them smart, educated, very well funded. And they know how to spin up propaganda like nobody else.
Yep.
So,
and they have help from our foreign adversaries because our foreign adversaries like Russia and China and Iran, they study us, they understand our culture, and they understand how to divide us.
Yeah.
And I've made reference to this before, but we really got a window into that, in that PSYOP operation that Russia was involved in, starting in 2014 through the Mueller report.
Yep.
And how they started using social media and creating these fake accounts, creating these fake social Facebook
Cambridge
accounts.
Analytica.
Right. Cambridge Analytica, funded by the Mercers, and all of this micro-targeting and algorithm manipulating. And they knew how to do that to sow discord within our culture. And it worked. And look at where we are. And it helped get Donald Trump elected. And they're still doing it. They're perfecting it, and they're still doing it. And now Elon Musk controls Twitter, and Elon is one of the right. This guy is a freaking weirdo and a genius.
That's like what, 17 kids by like.
He's another one. He names his kids like formulas or something, and he's a total weirdo who grew up in like an apartheid loving family in South Africa, and his father is a bastard. Who this guy, again, like I said it on MSNBC again, I will continue to say it. These guys have mommy and daddy issues that are unresolved childhood traumas, and we are all paying the price for them acting out because they never got proper therapy to work it out. And Elon Musk is no different, and he's the richest man in the world and controls a huge platform. He was yucking it up this week, besides the fact he did that weirdo jig thing at the Trump rally over the weekend, and like I don't know what that was.
But is it the Daily Show posted a video of him doing that at one point? It was like a couple months ago. And this is like, why does Elon Musk always jump like it's the first day with his body? He doesn't know.
I think that he's on the spectrum or something, and
probably.
No disrespect,
I think, and he said that,
right. But it's
plenty of people I know who are on the spectrum who don't
act like that. I know, and and are very good people. He's a horrible person. So
yes.
But he was also yucking it up with Tucker Carlson. Speaking of horrible people, and they were talking about women and birth control. The combination of Tucker Carlson and Elon Musk talking about women and birth control is gross enough and should send shivers down your spine to begin with, because why? Why is that a topic of conversation between these two guys? But it was. And there's a much more sinister reason.
Yeah.
I think we have the clip, yeah?
Well,
or the headline?
Beyond the clip. So
we have a compilation. You can
so there's a young woman named Emily. I don't know if I'm going to mispronounce her name. It's AMICK, Amick. It's at Emily in your phone. She's on Instagram. She's on TikTok. She is fantastic. She's incredibly smart. And she's always really just good. Like in it and explaining things in a way that's so digestible for just regular people. And she went into a little bit of a deep dive because she's a little bit obsessed about the pipeline between wellness and the right-wing extremism, and the wellness, how it leads to like weird oils and vitamins, to anti-pharma, anti-vaccine. Oh, I'm in QAnon now. Like this is how these things happen. So anyways, she talks a little bit about this in relation to what happened in this interview. So I'll go ahead and play that.
Talking about birth control, in particular, scaremongering about how it's dangerous for women. This is the same type of thing we're seeing from conservative influencers across the board, from the wellness to right-wing pipeline folks. And it's really deeply connected to the impact litigation strategy of the right. Anti-choice Christian conservative groups actually sued the FDA to try to get them to overturn the regulations that allow the use of mifepristone in medication abortion. The case went all the way up to the Supreme Court, but it actually cited bunk science, including some anonymous blog posts. And when we see people like Elon talking about how he's just worried for the women, it's because of strategy like this. The goal is to make birth control and contraception illegal in this country. And the way they're going to do it is a two-pronged litigation strategy. The first is FDA regulations, and the second is overturning Griswold. Because when the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade in Dobbs, they set the legal precedent to be able to do that. And Justice Thomas, in his concurrence, specifically said, we need to reconsider Griswold, Lawrence, and Obergefell. So when you see these clips of people like Elon, make sure you think of that.
Hormonal birth control, I think maybe a lot of women are unaware that hormonal birth control causes depression and dramatically increases risk of suicide and changes their preferences on who they want to marry or have kids with.
Why is Elon Musk pontificating on this nonsense? Because, well, we already know that he doesn't exactly love women, and he wants to control them and thinks that women are lesser than. And, you know, he's talking to another guy who's a total misogynist, Tucker Carlson, and
who also has mommy issues.
Big time. That's correct. Correct. And this is part of a bigger strategy. We've been saying this because this week also we had two big legal cases come down. One in Georgia, right? There was a Georgia judge that overturned their abortion ban and had a barn burner of an opinion on it. It was very correct on it. And of course, the Georgia Supreme Court swooped in and said, no, he's wrong, and reinstituted the 6-week abortion ban. Texas also, they've had this draconian anti-abortion law that pretty much outlaws abortion and outlaws abortion in all instances. And we know about the statistics of mortality with women and all of the things that are happening, horrible things that are happening in Texas because of it. And the U.S. Supreme Court basically said, we're not getting involved and let Texas do what they want to do. And it goes down to emergency care. Like what, how close does a woman have to be to death before it's considered emergency care and not abortion?
Right.
And all of these things combined, that was just this week, all of these things combined demonstrate, again, how these laws, how MAGA and the right wing wants to control women. And it's not just about reproductive care and abortion. It's about birth control.
Everything.
It's about marriage. It was Senator Braun, Mike Braun this week questioned interracial marriage and whether that should be federally legal. No, you should leave it up to the states. Interracial marriage. We're back to this now. We've been warning people about this, warning them. And I don't know what it's going to take for folks to start paying attention. Well, our audience pays attention, but.
Yeah, I mean, I would even just love to share. I mean, not love, but I'd like to share because I don't love this at all. The story out of Georgia, there was a pregnant woman that was assaulted by a football player. And I want you to read this headline, take a beat, and read it again. College football star arrested for assault on woman's fetus in Georgia. College football star arrested for assault on woman's fetus in Georgia.
What's wrong with that?
Meaning He was not arrested for assaulting a woman or even a pregnant woman. He was assaulted, or sorry, he was arrested or for assaulting the fetus.
Right.
Because women now apparently aren't human beings. We're not people. We are merely vessels to carry babies. That is what the state of Georgia, the state of Texas, need I go on, think of us. They do not even consider us as victims of crimes under the law anymore if we are carrying a baby. And this, I'm sure, is just one of many instances where these things are happening. And I hate to bring it back to Handmaid's Tale again, guys, but
no,
this is the kind of stuff. Margaret Atwood wrote that book in the 80s.
Yep.
And she wrote scenarios and conditions that women were living under at some point somewhere in the world. Nothing she was writing about was fiction except for the characters and, you know, the time. But this stuff is super scary.
Yeah.
That we aren't even seen as human beings anymore.
Listen, Missouri tried to pass a law that you couldn't get divorced if you were pregnant.
I can't.
I mean, this is 2024. We're not talking about 100 years ago.
Yeah.
So
I never would have thought in a million years, honestly.
Me either.
I mean, we have
to remain vigilant on this. We have to.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we do this show, because we want people to be informed, because there's just so much information. It's hard to keep up, and we try our best to bring it to you so you can make informed decisions and spread the word to other people, because they need to hear what's actually going on. This week, I guest hosted the Michael Smerconish show again on Sirius XM. Shout out to Smerconish. I appreciate him entrusting his show to me. He has one of the biggest audiences on Sirius XM. And I'm the only woman guest host that he has. It's a very male-centric show often.
Let me tell you.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. I don't mind it.
I know you're okay with it.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. And I appreciate that he gives me the opportunity.
XM, but I do have a subscription now because Tara goes on.
I'm a regular guest host for him.
And I like to listen. And it's like a 3-hour show. So anyways, the people who call in, and it's all the bands, and they are so mad. They're so mad that Tara's there.
They're very triggered by me.
Oh my God. They're mad that she's there. They're mad at what she's saying. I mean, one guy, I could almost hear his voice shaking, and he like hung up right away after he like yelled at you.
Yeah.
It was, and and Tara's got a great attitude about it. She's like, oh, thanks for calling in. I support your right to say these things. Like, isn't it great? We live in a democracy. Like, I don't know how you do it because I was like, listening to it.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it depends. It's like, I will go toe to toe with them.
Yeah.
But the calls on Tuesday, I got to pick and choose those battles. And the calls were on Tuesday were particularly unhinged. And there was no really, it spoke for itself. I didn't need to say anything. And there were people who called in after that apologized to me on behalf of those people. And I'm like, you don't have to do that.
It's very sweet. Very
sweet.
Because
Michael's audience, the majority of his people are awesome. But you're always gonna get some of those. And so it's there's something else. But I wanted to do something different on that show. And I wanted to talk about the impacts of abortion and of these abortion bans from a man's perspective, because I know that he has a predominantly male audience.
Yeah.
And I didn't want them to be like, oh, the women are complaining about birth control and abortions. I wanted them to hear it from a man.
Yeah.
And some people may or may not be familiar with Ryan Hamilton, who is a dad. He's a husband and he's a radio host. He's like a regular dude. He's like from England, and he has a radio show, and he moved to Texas, and his wife's a doctor, and they have a little family, and everything was all good until she had complications with her pregnancy and had a miscarriage. And it was the most awful experience because she could not get the proper care she needed because of the abortion laws in Texas. In May, he decided to go public with this story on Twitter. He outlined what happened and how they were turned away from emergency rooms, how his wife had to go through this miscarriage in their bathroom, and how she was bleeding, and how he found her eventually unconscious on the floor, and she almost died. And I brought him on the show to talk about their experience, because he became a well-known figure now, and kind of the voice of the example, him and his wife, and what their family went through. It was unbelievably heartbreaking. And he's such a humble guy, and he's just fighting for his wife.
And it's so brave. I mean,
so brave. It's cost him a lot. It's cost him his job. Yes. He lost his job. He's lost. They've been attacked with death threats. It's just been infuriating what's happened to him, simply because he told the truth, so that others could hear what happened to his family.
Yeah.
And I brought him on to talk about that, because he made a new video outlining what happened, to tell the story again, because obviously this is a big issue. And he wants to make sure that more people hear his story and see the real world impact. And I think, Michelle, you have the video. We're going to play that video, and we're going to play also a caller and their response to my interview with Ryan Hamilton on Tuesday.
I do want to warn people that the story is upsetting. It can be triggering if you've been through something like this. Just letting you know ahead of time. But it's raw, it's real, and it's the truth. So here we go.
These are the steps I took through our bedroom into the bathroom, where I discovered my wife, unconscious, cold, and lifeless in a pool of her own blood. She bled for 4 days after being denied the care she needed because of the Texas abortion ban. Since going public with our story, we've been attacked relentlessly. Liar, political propaganda. If that really happened, name the hospitals. This is SurePoint Emergency Center in Stephenville, Texas. On Thursday, May 16th at 8 p.m., we learned our baby no longer had a heartbeat. My wife had an incomplete miscarriage. She was sent home with a prescription for misoprostol. It went very wrong. So we returned Saturday, May 18th, where the doctor said, "Considering the current stance, I'm not going to prescribe you any more medicine without providing any other option." My wife stood right here in this parking lot, bleeding, scared to death, with the child we lost inside of her. We drove to another hospital an hour away in Granbury, Texas. This is Lake Granbury Medical Center. On Saturday, May 18th, they started all over. A new scan, more poking and prodding, only to confirm what we already knew. Our baby had no heartbeat. We asked for a D&C, the procedure she desperately needed. They kept her here for hours, bleeding in excruciating pain, only to tell us it was not enough of an emergency to perform a D&C. She didn't meet the life of the mother exception. She wasn't close enough to dead yet. They sent us back home. Then on Sunday, May 19th, her body gave out, and I found her here. I really thought I lost her. This is Texas Harris Methodist Hospital in Stephenville, Texas, where on Sunday, May 19th, I brought my wife's unconscious body for life-saving care. This is the only place they didn't hesitate to help her, because she was finally close enough to dead. Losing a child is a different kind of heartbreak. It's impossible to explain. We didn't get to celebrate a new birth or take newborn photos. Instead, we will carry the trauma of this torturous experience for the rest of our lives, especially my wife. The only image we have of the child we lost is this: when they discovered our baby's heart was no longer beating. This should have been the worst of it. But this was only the beginning of our nightmare. And we're not the only ones. The women we love deserve better.
I don't know how you aren't moved and outraged and upset and infuriated by that story. No woman in America in 2024 should ever have to go through what Ryan's wife, Jessica, went through. No family should have to endure that in this country. And for what? For some stupid political agenda by a bunch of people who think that women and doctors can't make proper healthcare decisions for them and their reproductive health. It is outrageous, and we cannot let these types of stories stand and continue. Because guess what? Ryan Hamilton and Jessica, they're not alone. This is happening to thousands of women across this country, thousands of them,
and worse. Some of them are dying.
Correct.
Which we have reports of now. I mean, it's just, it is unfathomable. And again, the bravery of them to tell the story. I mean, to speak up and stand up for what's right and to share your story in this way. I mean, you have to be ready to take punches. And I don't think anything really can prepare you for taking punches like the American public is swinging at them.
That's correct. And they've said that. But Ryan he's not been muzzled. He has not stopped speaking out. As a matter of fact, he is speaking out even more. Tonight, he was going to come on as our guest, but he's actually at a rally in New Hampshire, a pro-Harris rally in New Hampshire, telling his story. They're getting him more involved in the campaign because people need to hear from him. But I will say that Ryan will be part of a very special fundraising event that we are doing for the Seneca Project next Wednesday. So everyone mark your calendars. We have a special live stream event next Wednesday at 8 p.m. And Ryan is not just our only guest. We have a couple other folks who are going to join us that we're very excited about, including Mark Hamill, who has been an incredible supporter of mine and of Seneca Project and of the work that we're doing. As a matter of fact, I geek out every time Mark Hamill retweets me or sends me messages. Like, it all started with him sending me a happy birthday on Twitter last year. I think it was last year. And I was like, oh my God, Luke Skywalker, A, knows who I am, and B, retweeted a happy birthday to me. I was so excited. I sent it to Michelle. I screenshot it to Michelle and was like, holy shit. I was so excited. So not only is he a generational hero to so many of us, he's a genuinely, amazingly great guy.
A really nice person. I've worked with him on projects, and he just is the most just humble and generous. And like, you know, at no point is he like, well, I'm Mark Hamill. Like, it's just, he wants to get it right. I mean, he's very, very kind and
so nice.
He cares so much.
So nice. And he's a girl dad. He's been married to the same woman for like 40 years. I think she was his dental hygienist. Okay.
Oh,
like,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's great.
And he loves her, and they've been happily married for 40 plus years. And he's just amazing. And we've become buddies. And I sent him a Christmas card, and he's just, and he texted me and apologized for not being able to see me during the DNC. We tried, but he was like swarmed by people, and he was like, I couldn't move around because so many of the selfies, and I kind of had to stay put. But he's like, I regret that I didn't get a chance to see you. And I'm like, listen, it's okay. And I'm like, Michelle, Luke Skywalker is texting me, apologizing about not being able to. This is crazy.
What is happening?
I know. I will fangirl forever over that, because like, we're living the real life resistance right now. Like, we are the resistance, and he's like the Jedi master leader of it all. So anyway, Luke Skywalker, also known as Mark Hamill, will be joining us as well for our fundraiser, alongside Alex Borstein, who is on our advisory board, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Family Guy, and you want to say who else, Michelle?
Tony Shalhoub. I love Tony Shalhoub. You might know him from Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, from Monk, from, if you remember the old TV show, Wings. Also on Broadway in The Band's Visit. He is enormously talented and so nice. And we're so excited that he's agreed to come and do this with us happily. And I mean, oh my God.
Yes. So, and there may be more. So, and Congressman Riggleman's probably going to come by and say hello. We've got a great lineup. So,
so bring a glass of wine or a mocktail,
whatever. We're going to be in conversation and have a good time and raise lots of money for Seneca Project to help us continue to create the content that we're putting out and get it on the airwaves, because we cannot do it without your support. So we'll be sending out the promos and the links for all of that, but we wanted to make sure you guys marked your calendars, and you are the first to know. This is the first that we are announcing this here.
Yeah.
So you're right.
I did want to say though, on the other side of speaking of like why we do what we do, you know, Ryan Hamilton in that interview talked about the technicalities on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
You know, when doctors and hospitals kind of, you know, itemize what went through, like what somebody went through when they came in, and
the services.
I think like services. I think like D&C is the same thing as abortion on those itemized lists.
Yep.
And so to perform the D&C, you would have to perform an abortion. And a man called in after they went to commercial after the interview and came back, and a man called in, and I think it's just so amazing. I sat there crying. Listen to this. Here it is.
Back to wrap up the show, third hour of the Michael Smerconish program. I want to take time for one quick call before we wrap up. And Brian from California. Brian, welcome to the Smerconish program. What did you most want to say?
So I'm a Catholic and I'm pro-life, but I want to thank you for bringing this caller on because I have clarity now. You know, in the law, words matter. And I was so caught up on the whole 13-week abortion. I thought that was appalling, but didn't realize the life and death situations that women were being put into. I mean, I was really moved by his story. And geez, because it says abortion on a piece of paper, she almost died. I have so much clarity now. Thank you.
Brian, thank you so much. That actually brought tears to my eyes for you saying that, because it shows that what we're doing has impact. This is why I'm in politics. This is why I started the Seneca Project. This is why it's an honor and a privilege to do this show and bring information to the audience so people understand the real life impact and consequences that policy and these things have on people. And thank you. Thank you so much for reinforcing that and knowing that we can change hearts and minds when the truth is told from real world perspective.
Good stuff.
There it is, folks. That's why we do it. It matters. It matters. So, yeah, it was, I got kind of teary eyed again this time listening to it because
I mean, this is the thing. I mean, our particular message, right? We're not trying to change all the votes. We're not trying to change any MAGA people, really. You know, those people are long gone.
Yeah.
We're trying to find the sensible people in the middle who maybe don't understand what's going on, or maybe are persuadable for various different reasons, this being one of them. Mm-hmm. And when we tell our stories, as gruesome as they sometimes are, we shed light on the truth and what's really going on. Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, reasonable people can see that, and it changes their minds.
That's right.
And that in and of itself is worth every hour of work that we put in. It's worth everything.
100%. If we can change one vote, one person's mind, it makes it worth it.
That's
and
right.
So, yeah. Wow. It's been a week, man.
It's been a week. There was one other story. Well, there's a couple.
Yeah.
First of all, Donald Trump's coming to New York in a couple weeks, but I mean, we can talk about that next week if we want.
Yeah, just so for people who don't know, we'll just put that. And you know what, Michelle, we should also, because folks are asking us when the fundraising event is, live stream. We can just maybe put it up on the Chiron. It's going to be next Wednesday at 8 p.m. and it'll be streaming just like we watch the stakes on all of our social media. So mark your calendars, Wednesday, the 16th of October at 8 p.m. Eastern live. So we'll put that up so you guys can.
Is spelling Hamill right? Is it 2 M's, 2 L's, 1 M?
I think it's 1 M, 2 L's. Mark Hamill. Or as he always puts it, he puts MAR with the camel.
Oh yeah,
on Twitter. He's so cute. I love him. He's
That's
the nicest
funny.
guy. Yeah, I'm so excited to talk to him and have that conversation.
It's going to be so fun.
But anyway, yes. And friends.
So,
there'll be more. Do you know that Mark?
Friends. Well,
Mark and Alex Borstein worked together on Mad TV years ago.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, that's funny.
Yes, he sent a note tonight and it was like, I can't wait for Alex too. This is great.
I used to watch her on Mad TV back in the day.
He was on there. Anyway, so long
She's the
ago.
best. She's the best.
Anywho, but yeah, Donald
yeah.
Trump is coming to frickin' Madison Square Garden at the end of the month, and Michelle has done work on this in the past, and the echoes of the Nazi rally that was there back in the 30s, we can't ignore that. We just can't. So best believe Seneca Project will be doing some things on that. We've already reached out to Ruth Ben-Ghiat, our advisory board member and historian, and who was our guest a couple weeks ago. Trust we'll be putting something together about this. But just putting that on the radar that we are not ignoring what this is about here.
No. And to those who don't know what this is a photo from, there was an American Nazi rally at Madison Square Garden in 1939. There was a huge Nazi movement in the United States during this time. And if you notice how manipulative they were with the American nationalism, they have George Washington on stage with swastikas.
This is where the America First phrase originated. America First is not new, folks.
Yep.
It was to keep us out of World War II.
There's a documentary called A Night at the Garden. You should go look at it. At some point during the events, there was a Jewish man who got on stage and yelled at them, and they beat him up and they pulled him off stage. And he lived in Brooklyn, and he ended up going to fight in World War II. He survived, came home, and they've asked him many times, would you do it again? He was like, hell yeah. So I think it's a great story, and it's a great moment in history to really learn about, because I think so much of it pertains to what's happening now in not a good way.
No, but you got to know your history so you don't repeat it.
Exactly. And the other part of this, speaking of just being traitorous to your country, we found out this week that Donald Trump, during the height of the pandemic,
there's so much,
was sending COVID tests to Vladimir Putin in Russia. Okay. These aren't the little swabbies like you're putting up in your nose. It's not that. It was like the testing apparatus, like the machines that they had in the hospitals to test when, where I live, there were 1,000 people dying a day. Okay.
Mass graves in New York, folks.
We had refrigerated trucks full of people who had passed away outside hospitals. And I remember what that time was like here. It was awful. It went from 0 to 100, and we had nothing. There were no tests. There was no PPE. No one had masks. The people in the hospitals had to wear the same mask for a week. They'd have to go home and strip down outside so they didn't, infect their families. And then they would have to go and put those same clothes back on because there wasn't anything. And you
actually put this in a video, which I thought was so good. And also you are wearing a Yankee hat, which made it even better. Sorry, folks who don't like the Yankees, but I think we should show it because you did such a great job, and you were so fired up when you saw the story. You're like, I need to do a direct to camera right away. So this was your raw emotions right then, and you were like, I'm doing it.
All right, here you go. Today we learned that Donald Trump, during the height of the pandemic, was sending COVID-19 tests to the murderous dictator Vladimir Putin in Russia for personal use. My name is Michelle Kinney. I am co-founder of the Seneca Project and a New Yorker. Let me tell you a little bit about what it was like to live in New York City during the height of the pandemic. Well, we were cooped up in our tiny apartments for months. Thousands of our neighbors were dying. We had no tests, we had no PPE, we had no help. The healthcare workers in the hospitals were having to wrap their bodies in garbage bags. They didn't have enough materials, PPE, to get them through their shifts, having to wear the same masks over and over and over, let alone having access to a COVID-19 test that they would use to protect themselves or their families. Meanwhile, we know that Donald Trump was saying, let the people in the blue states die. And that's exactly what he did. While he could have been giving tests to people in my community, he was sending them overseas to a dictator. Donald Trump only cares about Donald Trump. take it from somebody who lives in New York City, not only now, not only during the pandemic, but for a long time. And New Yorkers have known for a long time. New Yorkers know about Donald Trump, that he's a con man, fraud, and a thief, terrible business person. So I don't know how anybody can vote for a man who continuously puts his own self-interests above the American people. He did it before, he will do it again. It's who he is in his soul. New Yorkers deserved better. I can only imagine how many people in my community would still be alive today if they had received the resources that they needed.
There you have it.
I mean, I wish that I'd said if people in my community had received the resources that Vladimir Putin did.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I cannot tell you, listen, I'm not trying to diminish what other people in the country went through. It was hell for everybody, but, you know, New York went through something else, and we got hit the hardest, the fastest, and we had nowhere to go.
Yep.
We were all in our tiny apartments. Like, I couldn't go out and take my trash out. It felt dangerous, right? So it's like people in lines and tents, and I mean, they had a thing set up in Central Park. I mean, it's just crazy, and like to think,
and traumatizing. I mean,
oh yeah, listen to me. I get emotional just thinking about it.
I know. And you live near a hospital, and when there was like just sometimes during the show, right, you can hear the sirens.
Imagine that all day and night for 4 weeks. And that's what it was like. And I invite anyone. Spike Lee did a 4-part docu-series on HBO about New York City. The first episode is about COVID. And not a lot of people tell this story for us. I don't know why, but I think it's just too upsetting. But, you know, it was actually really validating for me to go watch. And I was like, man, I'm not being dramatic here. This really was this bad.
Yes.
It really was.
Yeah. Shout out to Spike Lee, another real New Yorker who loves New York City and always pays homage to it. And his wife has been a supporter of Seneca Project. Yes. We appreciate that. And we put a call out to Spike to see if he'll come join us on Wednesday. So we'll see, but we did put the call out there. So Spike Lee, if you're watching, come join us and talk about how support women. For Seneca Project. But yeah, no, that was a great job, Michelle. And I was so glad that you decided to do that because people needed to hear it from someone who lived through it. And the affront. How dare Donald Trump? I mean, and this
let the people in the blue states die. Let them die.
I cannot. And we know that he said this, and we know this was part of his presidency. My friend Mark Harvey, who spoke out. Yes, my friend Mark Harvey, who worked in the National Security Council. He was not a crazy. He was like one of those good guys that was like, somebody
needs to do the right thing.
Yeah, like we need to be here so that he doesn't destroy this whole country.
Yeah, I get it.
Mark and I became friends because we were fellows together at Harvard. And he finally spoke out last week because of Donald Trump and the lies concerning hurricane disaster relief. That's like costing people their lives and not getting proper disaster relief from FEMA and stuff because of all these lies that he's spreading irresponsibly. So Mark finally came out and said, I need to speak up about this. I just cannot keep this in anymore. And he told the story about how Trump would consistently deny proper disaster relief to blue states because he didn't like them.
Again.
And Mark Harvey was like, okay, listen, this is what we need to do. They literally had to show Trump that by county, that the people were actually Trump voters too, that were impacted by this, that were affected by him not sending proper relief. That was the only thing that moved him to sign off on disaster relief. The guy is a horrible, terrible narcissist who doesn't care about anyone but himself and gets off on being buddies with dictators like Vladimir Putin, who play him like a fiddle. And I'm so glad Kamala Harris continues to sow that seed about how Donald Trump will get, run over by these dictators because they know how to manipulate him.
Yeah, he's easily manipulated. All they have to do is tell him he's pretty, and he's like, oh.
He says it himself. Oh, well, he says very nice things about me.
I think he likes me, It's we're in
sick.
love. We're in love.
Yeah, we're in love with another murderous dictator, Kim Jong-un in North Korea, who throws like live people to alligators for fun. That's legit.
I know, and to your point, like we could go on for like 3 hours talking about all the shit that happened this week between the storm and the misinformation and like all the Joe Biden, press conferences, and like, I mean, he is done. He is done, that man. He is done. And they keep asking him dumb questions and they keep saying dumb stuff. And he's like, no. And he's yelling back at reporters, which quite frankly,
I love it. I'm
good. If they're asked dumb question, you're going to get a dumb answer.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Yeah. I'm so waiting for Joe Biden to tell Donald Trump to fuck off. I'm just waiting for it because we all know that Joe Biden likes to throw the F-bomb around.
Man.
We love him. We love him for it. We throw the F-bombs around here and we love it. And I'm so waiting to, like, after the election where it doesn't matter anymore, praying Kamala wins, we're in the transition, and Biden finally tells Trump to fuck off. He wants to. You know he wants to. You know he wants to.
I mean,
you can feel it. You can feel it. Come on, Joe. Nobody will be upset about it.
Nobody
that matters anyway. MAGA will be upset, but we don't care.
Yeah, they'll be like, what a foul-mouthed man. I'm like, seriously?
Have you listened to Donald Trump lately? Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, the last thing I think we'll leave on this, and then of course we'll show some of our content that you help support, and we have more waiting in the wings that we're in production for. So keep those donations coming in so we can put more of it out.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, The Apprentice, the movie finally comes to theaters. And our good friend Michael Cohen went to the premiere this week in New York, and he said that it was one of the most accurate depictions of who Donald Trump really is that he's ever seen. And so,
listen, Roger Stone, I mean, for whatever we don't like about him, he was very close with Roy Cohn, very, very close with him. And he said it was one of the same thing, one of the best depictions he's ever seen of him, or most accurate.
Yep. Played by, of course, brilliant Jeremy Strong, who, again, is an incredible guy. We love him. Played Kendall Roy on one of the best shows ever, Succession. And now he's playing, he won a Tony Award for his role in Enemy of the People, which was a fantastic play. I'm glad I got to see it. Third row tickets. And now he's playing Roy Cohn. I cannot wait to see this. He nailed it. And
I'm going to try to go tomorrow.
And Sebastian Stan playing Trump, which I never would have thought, but he's an excellent actor too.
He's a chameleon, that guy. He can do, who knew?
Right? From the Winter Soldier in Marvel to Tommy Lee to Donald Trump. And good for you, Sebastian Stan. So I hope folks go out and watch that. I'm heading out to California this weekend. I'm speaking at the Commonwealth Club in San Francisco. So if anyone who is watching is out in the San Francisco area, please go over to the Commonwealth Club website. I think there's tickets still available for it. I think it's free, actually. That's happening on Tuesday. And we're talking about October surprises and what we think about that and what we think about the election and what will happen after. So if you're out in San Fran, come see me in the panel at the Commonwealth Club on Tuesday. And I'm hoping I get an opportunity to drink a little wine while I'm there.
That'd be nice.
I think we might go to Sonoma. So if anybody has any recommendations of like a must-go winery, you must go here, send it to me on social media, because
I've never been. So you're gonna have to give me some recommendations too for when I head out that way.
Yes. I don't know if we're going to go over to Napa. I feel like I want to go to Sonoma and I've been to Napa before, but I love Pinot Noirs. So Napa's, and Sonoma is better known for their Pinot Noirs. And so I kind of want to try that. So anyway, that's an aside, but just saying what's coming up and where we'll be. So if you see me out like drinking wine on Sunday, don't worry. I'm not taking a day off. I will still be working. Michelle and I we'll be on the chats because we're working on our events and there are no days off.
Too early in the morning until too late at night.
It's true. But we have to. Every minute matters. Every minute matters. Every minute matters. Anyway, do we have the Apprentice trailer? We've got to play it. All right. So we're going to leave you guys with the Apprentice trailer and then some of our content. And remember, mark your calendars for Wednesday, October 16th, 8 p.m. We're doing our fundraiser for Seneca live stream with Mark Hamill, Tony Shalhoub, Alex Borstein, Denver Riggleman, Ryan Hamilton, and more. And we'll, of course, we'll be back for the stakes next Thursday as well. See you guys then.
Yes.
Hello, this is Donald Trump from Mr. Cohen. Thank you so much.
Donald who?
1, 2, 3, 4!
Roy Cohn, nice to meet you.
Via Roy Cohn, you're brutal.
Guilty as charged.
How do you always win?
There's rules. The first rule is attack, attack, attack.
It's going to be the finest building in the city, maybe the country, in the world.
Rule 2, admit nothing, deny everything.
There's never been anything like this, of this magnitude, this quality. Ooh, cheese balls over here.
What are you doing?
You want one?
No, it looks totally disgusting.
Cheese balls.
Rule 3, no matter what happens, you claim victory and never admit defeat. You have to be willing to do anything to anyone to win. You have a big ass. You got to work on that.
Your face looked like an orange.
Attack, attack, attack. Deny everything.
Admit nothing.
Never admit defeat.
What if you lost?
I always thought women liked me.
And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the pussy.
I make this statement to the great women.
Questionable comments about a young girl.
You're going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years. Can you believe it?
I am your protector.
Carol opening her testimony today saying, quote, "I'm here because Donald Trump raped me."
I want to be your protector.
5 former Miss Teen USA contestants told BuzzFeed that Trump did in fact walk in on them while they were changing.
And so I sort of get away with things like that.
You will no longer be abandoned, lonely, or scared.
Donald held back Ivana's arms and began to pull out fistfuls of hair from her scalp.
You're not going to be in danger any longer.
I turned around and I see Donald standing there. I'm thinking, this son of a bitch just grabbed me.
Women will be happy, healthy, confident, and free.
Trump called Epstein a terrific guy, adding, "It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side."
You will no longer be thinking about abortion.
They're going to just let me bleed out here.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion? Yes or no, as a principle?
The answer is that there has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah.
You will be protected, and I will be your protector. Women. I was able to terminate Roe v. Wade. I got rid of Roe v. Wade.
Killing Roe v. Wade.
In July 1848, courageous women came together in Seneca Falls, New York, to start a movement. They dared to fight against treatment as second-class citizens. After decades of struggle, women fought and won the right to vote, to work without discrimination, to control our bodies, to even open bank accounts without the permission of a man. Each one was a triumph against those who believed we didn't deserve them. Well, today, those hard-fought victories are under attack. Donald Trump and his allies are determined to send us back to a time when we had no say, no freedom, no choice.
I got rid of Roe v. Wade.
Do we want a future where our daughters have fewer rights than our grandmothers? Where their bodies are state property? Their voices silenced? Their opportunities erased? We say hell no. We won't go back. This November, we must take back what is ours. For ourselves, for our daughters, and for the pioneers of Seneca Falls. It's up to us.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion?
There has to be some form of punishment.
The Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade and ended a woman's constitutional right to an abortion.
We trust women.
There's a threat facing women in America that transcends party lines.
My country doesn't care about me.
And it's time we ask ourselves, do we still value the freedoms we have fought so hard for?
We should all have the care that we need.
This election is a choice, and it is a time for choosing. We're told we have to choose between left or right, but we know what the real choice is. It's a choice between our freedom or their control, between our right to determine our own destinies or Donald Trump. So seriously, America, what the hell are we doing? We can't sit on the sidelines while women in America suffer and die because a right we once had has now been criminalized. If we don't make the right choice, there's no state to escape to. There's no going back. Choosing who will shape our future is a right we still have left for now. And that choice is up to us.
From the 6 a.m. practice to the away game pickup,
From her first goal to the state finals, from the big wins to the big lessons, we take care of all the little things. We do these little things so our daughters can achieve big things.
Americans are nailing it.
We do all of this for their future. And this fall, that future is on the line. We have come so far, but we have one big thing left to do for our daughters. Their rights are on the ballot, and we won't go back. Not now, not ever. This fall, we will go for the gold, and we must win for them.